Captain Yun Park took a deep breath as he stood on the polished bridge of the UNS Thunder. The massive viewscreen before him displayed the swirling colors of the Orion Nebula, clouds of gas and dust stretching for light years. His uniform felt tight around his collar today, maybe because this was supposed to be an easy mission. Just patrol the outer boundary and report back. Simple. Captain, all systems normal, said Lieutenant Jin Kim from her station. Her fingers danced across the control panel, eyes focused on the readings. We've reached the edge of the nebula as planned. Park nodded. The Thunder was humanity's pride, the most advanced warship ever built, nearly half a kilometer long, armed with plasma cannons and quantum torpedoes, protected by shield technology that had taken decades to perfect. A crew of 300 of Earth's finest. All this power, and most days, they just watched the stars. Begin standard sensor sweep, Park ordered. Let's do our job and head home. Officer Sun Yoon adjusted her headset and frowned. Captain, I'm picking up unusual energy readings deeper in the nebula. It's not natural. On screen, Park said. The view screen shifted, zooming into a section of the nebula where flashes of light punctured the cosmic dust. Even from this distance, Park could see it wasn't a stellar phenomenon. Those are weapon discharges, said Commander Su Han, stepping forward. His usually calm face showed rare concern. Massive ones. Engineer Hyun Cho looked up from his station. Sir, I've never seen energy signatures like these before. Whatever's happening out there makes our biggest battles look like fireworks. Phi. Bridge fell silent as the crew watched. Bright beams cut through space, followed by explosions that briefly outshone nearby stars. We're receiving a transmission, Yoon suddenly announced, her voice tight. It's not in any known language, but the computer is trying to translate. A moment later, a voice filled the bridge. It sounded almost like singing, but filled with fear. This is the Aurelian medical vessel Harmony. We carry wounded and children. Please, anyone who hears this, help us. The Krell destroy everything. We cannot fight them. Park stepped closer to the screen. Show me the source. The image shifted again, focusing on a sleek, silver ship. Its design was unlike anything human eyes had seen before, curved and elegant, without visible weapons. Behind it, pursuing it, were three angular black vessels, predatory in their appearance. The silver ship is the source of the distress call, Jin said. The black ships are firing on it. As they watched, one of the black ships fired a red beam that sliced across the silver vessel's hull. The damage was catastrophic. A whole section tore away, debris and what looked horribly like bodies spilling into space. Those people are defenseless, Han whispered. We have our orders, Park said firmly, but his knuckles were white as he gripped the command rail. Observe and report. First contact protocol is clear. We don't interfere in alien conflicts. Sir, Jin said quietly. That ship won't last another 5 minutes. Park's tablet pinged with a message from command. He read it silently. Maintain. Distance, do not engage. Gather intelligence only. Another hit rocked the silver ship. The distress call continued, now with sounds of screaming in the background. Please, our children. Park closed his eyes for a moment. 20 years in the service, following orders, doing his duty. The first human captain to witness an alien battle, and his place in history would be as the man who watched innocents die. Tactical assessment, he said suddenly. Han responded immediately. The three attacking vessels appear to have strong offensive capabilities, but their rear shields seem weaker. Their coordination suggests a hive mind or tight command structure. The vessel under attack has minimal defensive capabilities, looks purely civilian. Can we make a difference? Park asked bluntly. Han hesitated only for a second. Yes, sir, I believe we can. Park turned to his crew. Their faces showed the same. Conflict, he felt. Duty versus something more basic, more human. If we do this, he said quietly, there's no going back for any of us, for all of humanity. Engineer Cho straightened at his station. With respect, sir, I didn't join the fleet to watch massacres. One by one, the bridge crew nodded. Park took a deep breath and touched his comm badge. All hands battle stations, weapons online, shield to maximum. The thunder hummed as it came fully alive around them, systems powering up that had never been used outside of drills. Record this for command, Park said. We are responding to a distress call from a civilian vessel under attack. As representatives of humanity, we cannot in good conscience ignore this. He pointed at the view screen. Set intercept course, maximum speed. The Thunder surged forward, engines flaring as it raced toward the battle. Within moments, they were close enough to see the true scale of the conflict. Dozens of the elegant silver ships, most damaged or destroyed, against a fleet of the predatory black vessels. "Target the nearest attacker," Park ordered. "Fire when ready." Humanity's first shots in an interstellar conflict struck the rear of the nearest black ship, tearing through its weaker shields and blasting a hole in its hull. The effect was immediate. The other two ships broke off their attack on the medical vessel and turned toward this new threat. "They're coming about," Han reported. "They look confused. I don't think they know what to make of us." Park allowed himself a grim smile. "Let's make sure they remember us. Protect that medical ship at all costs." As the Thunder moved between the wounded vessel and its attackers, Captain Park knew that in this moment, humanity's place among the stars had changed forever. They were no longer observers. They were defenders. The Thunder shuddered as another Krell blast glanced off its shields. Lieutenant Jin Kim steadied herself against her console, eyes fixed on the readings flowing across her screen. The Krell ships moved with perfect coordination, like fingers on the same hand. It was unsettling. "Their formation is changing," she called out. "They're trying to surround us." Captain Park nodded. "Maintain position between them and the medical vessel. Keep our strongest shields facing their heaviest weapons." Jin pulled up more data on the alien ships they were protecting. The elegant silver vessels had minimal power signatures where weapons should be. Instead, their energy was focused on propulsion, life support, and what appeared to be massive research and medical facilities. "Captain," Jin said, "I'm analyzing the Aurelian ships. They're incredibly advanced, but they have almost no defensive systems. It's like they built starships without ever considering they'd need to fight." Park frowned. "How does a species reach space without developing weapons?" "We're about to find out," Commander Han said. "The medical vessel is hailing us." The view screen flickered to show an alien face. The Aurelian looked surprisingly human-like, with pale blue skin and large, expressive eyes. No hair, but elegant ridges along the scalp that seemed to shimmer, with changing colors. "Human vessel," the Aurelian said in accented but clear English. "You saved our children. You have our eternal gratitude." Park stepped forward. "I am Captain Yoon Park of the United Nations ship Thunder. We responded to your distress call." "I am Dr. Rin," the Aurelian replied. "Our translation systems adapted to your language from your transmissions. May we send a representative to your ship? There is much we must discuss, and quickly." Park hesitated only briefly. "Granted. We'll lower shields on Docking Bay 2 for 30 seconds. As they waited, Engineer Cho reported from his station. "Captain, the Krell ships are maintaining distance. They seem to be studying us." "Studying how we fight," Han corrected. "Did you see how they reacted when we executed that rolling defense pattern?" "They completely missed with their main weapons." Jin nodded. "Their tactics are perfect against the Aurelians, but they've never encountered our combat style before. They don't know what to expect." "Let's keep it that way," Park said. "Unpredictability is our advantage." Security reported that an Aurelian shuttle had docked successfully. Minutes later, the bridge doors opened to admit their visitor. The Aurelian who stepped onto the bridge wore simple robes that flowed like water. Unlike Dr. Rin, this one had deeper blue skin with intricate patterns that seemed to pulse with each breath. "I am Ambassador Tae Lee," the Aurelian said with a slight bow. "On behalf of the Aurelian Harmony, I thank you for your intervention." Jin noticed how the ambassador's eyes widened, taking in the bridge, particularly the weapons controls. "You seem surprised by our ship," she said. Ambassador Lee nodded. "It has been over 5,000 years since my people built machines of war. We had almost forgotten what they look like." Park gestured to a display showing the battle. "With respect, Ambassador, how does a spacefaring civilization survive without defenses?" "Until recently, quite well," Lee said, a note of sadness in their melodic voice. "For millennia we explored, learned, built, and healed. The Aurelian Harmony spans 300 worlds, Ambassador. Or it did, before the Krell came. The ambassador approached the tactical display, studying the black Krell ships with evident distress. Our scientists believe we evolved differently than most species, Lee continued. Where others developed aggression as a survival trait, we developed cooperation and empathy. Our advancement came through working together, not competing. Violence is almost physically impossible for most Aurelians. Han looked skeptical. Every species competes for resources. We found ways to create abundance, Lee explained. Our technology focuses on medicine, terraforming, and sustainable energy. We could have helped the Krell if they had asked. Instead, they see our pacifism as weakness, prey behavior. A blast rocked the ship. The Krell were testing the Thunder's defenses again. They're probing for weaknesses, Jin reported. Trying different attack patterns, Park turned to the ambassador. Why haven't other species helped you against the Krell? Most fear them, Lee said simply. Others benefit from trading with them. Some simply do not wish to be involved. In 30 cycles, you are the first to actually fight for us. Jin watched. The ambassador studying their faces, their weapons, their responses to danger. There was something childlike in the Aurelian's curiosity. You are remarkable creatures, Lee said finally. When your ship placed itself between our medical vessel and certain destruction, I felt something I cannot fully describe. You were afraid. I could see it in your movements, hear it in your communications. Yet you acted anyway. The ambassador's skin ridges flickered with changing colors. How you feel compassion deeply enough to risk your lives for strangers, yet you build warships and fight with skill that has confused even the Krell. This combination is unknown to us. Jin looked up from her console. The Krell are regrouping. They're bringing in 5 more ships. Park turned to Lee. Ambassador, we can't hold them off forever. You need to get your people to safety. There is nowhere left that is safe, Lee said. The Krell have methodically destroyed our worlds one by one. That is why I propose something unprecedented. The ambassador straightened, skin now pulsing with bright, determined patterns. A formal alliance between our peoples. We have medicines that can heal any human illness, terraforming technology that could transform your most barren worlds into paradises, energy systems that would end scarcity for your species forever. And what do you want from us? Park asked. Though Jin suspected he already knew. Protection, Lee said simply, and perhaps to learn from you. To understand how you balance such capacity for violence with such capacity for sacrifice. Jin watched her captain's face as he considered what this meant. One ship, one decision, committing all of humanity to an interstellar alliance, perhaps an interstellar war. The Krell ships are moving, Jin reported. Attack formation. Park looked at the ambassador, then at his crew. It seems we've already chosen our side, Ambassador. Your people have medical technology? We may need it soon. He turned to Han. Prepare. For engagement. Let's show the Krell some more human unpredictability. As the Thunder's engines roared to life, Ambassador Lee watched with fascination. Your species frightens and inspires me in equal measure, Captain Park. I believe that is exactly what the galaxy needs right now. Commander Suhan crouched behind a twisted piece of metal, his breath fogging the inside of his helmet. The corridors of the disabled Krell cruiser were dimly lit by emergency lighting that cast everything in an eerie red glow. Behind him, 3 members of his strike team waited silently, their eyes alert, weapons ready. Remember, Han whispered into his comm, we have 20 minutes before their backup arrives. Get what we need and get out. The Thunder had managed to cripple this Krell ship during their last engagement, targeting its engines with a series of unpredictable attack patterns that had left the enemy vessel drifting. Captain Park had seen an opportunity, one that no Aurelian would have even considered. 10 meters ahead, Commander, came the voice of Lieutenant Jin Kim from the Thunder. She was guiding them remotely, using scans of the ship's interior. The command center should be through the next doorway, Han signaled to his team. Officer Day moved forward, placing a small device on the sealed door. The team turned away as it emitted a pulse that disabled the locking mechanism. The door slid open. With a hiss. Inside, 3 Krell were still at their posts. Han got his first close look at the enemy. Tall, insect-like creatures with multiple limbs working in perfect coordination across control panels. They turned in unison, moving with identical motions like dancers following the same choreography. "Fire!" Han ordered. The team's stun weapons dropped the Krell before they could sound an alarm. Han rushed to the main console, plugging in the data extractor that Engineer Cho had programmed. "Different thinking, different advantage," Han muttered. To himself, recalling Park's words from their mission briefing. The captain had explained it perfectly. The Krell fight like a single organism with many parts. Perfect coordination, no wasted motion, but there's a weakness in that perfection. They can't adapt quickly to the unexpected. Humans, we're messy, we improvise. Each of us thinks differently. That's our edge. Han watched as the data streamed into their device. Krell ship formations, communication protocols, weapons specifications, all of it flowing into human hands. Back on the Thunder, Engineer Hyun Cho hadn't slept in 36 hours. His small workshop was cluttered with disassembled components and holographic diagrams. 3 empty coffee cups testified to his determination. "How you're burning yourself out," said Medical Officer Jun, standing in the doorway. Cho barely looked up from his work. "I'm close to something. The Krell weapons. There's a pattern to their energy signatures." "What kind of pattern?" Cho gestured. "To a screen showing waveform analyses from their previous battles. Their weapons all pulse at the same frequency. It's like they never considered that someone might tune shields to specifically counter it." He rubbed his tired eyes. "In human warfare, we'd vary our attack frequencies specifically to prevent this kind of countermeasure. The Krell don't. It's like they've optimized their weapons to such a degree that they never thought to build in variability. Because they've never needed to," Jun realized. "Until now." "Exactly." Cho's face lit up with that special excitement that came only from solving a complex problem. "If I can reconfigure our shield harmonics to create a cancellation wave..." On the bridge, Captain Park watched the tactical display as the Thunder executed another maneuver that no human ship had ever attempted in real combat. The ship spun along its longitudinal axis while firing, creating an unpredictable spiral pattern of weapons fire that confused the Krell targeting systems. "They're falling back to regroup," Officer Sun Yoon reported. "Again." Park nodded. "They can't understand why their standard tactics aren't working." Ambassador Lee, who had remained aboard the Thunder, watched with undisguised fascination. "Your crews, they don't move in patterns. Each person makes decisions independently." "That's how humans work," Park explained. "We have a chain of command and overall strategy, but everyone contributes their own thinking. Sometimes it's messy, but it gives us flexibility." "The Krell are connected," Lee said. "A collective consciousness. They think as one, which makes them powerful but predictable," Park replied. "They're fighting this battle the same way they've fought 100 times before. We've never fought this battle at all, so we're making it up as we go." Just then, Han's voice crackled over the comm. "Strike team to Thunder. Mission successful. Returning with the data package." Almost simultaneously, Cho's voice came through from engineering. "Captain, I've got it. I can reconfigure the shields to neutralize about 60% of the Krell. Weapon effectiveness. Give me 10 minutes to implement." Park couldn't help smiling at the timing. "This is why we're still alive," he told Lee, gesturing to the various stations around the bridge where humans worked with intense concentration. "Not because we're stronger or more advanced, but because we're all solving different pieces of the same problem in our own ways." When Han's team returned, they gathered in the tactical room with Cho and the senior officers. The data they'd retrieved revealed the Krell battle plans, and a weakness. "They operate as a unified force," Han explained, pointing to the Krell fleet formations. "But look here, their command structure is hierarchical. Each attack group takes orders from a single command ship." Jin leaned forward. "If we take out the command ship, the attack group becomes disorganized," Han finished. "Not for long. Another ship will take over coordination, but for a few crucial minutes, they'll be vulnerable." Cho stepped up next. "And with my shield modifications, we can survive long enough to get close to a command ship." Park looked around at his crew, tired, scared, but thinking, always thinking. The Krell had likely never faced an enemy that could adapt so quickly, that could learn and change tactics mid-battle. The enemy has numbers and coordination, Park said. We have the humanity, unpredictable, creative, sometimes irrational humanity. He smiled grimly. Let's show them what that means. As the Thunder prepared for its next engagement, a Krell commander observed the human vessel with what might have been confusion, if Krell experienced such emotions. How could one ship, one species, cause so much disruption? Their tactics followed no recognizable pattern. Each attack seemed different from the last. It was as if they were fighting not one enemy, but many different enemies in the same hull. The Krell commander sent a priority message to the Dominion. Human warship employs chaotic battle techniques, unable to predict. Exercise caution. It was perhaps the highest compliment humanity had ever received. The mood on the Thunder's bridge had changed. For 3 days they'd fought alongside the remaining Aurelian vessels, teaching them basic evasive maneuvers and helping them retrofit some defensive capabilities. A few Aurelian ships had even managed to disable Krell vessels using the tactics the humans had shown them. But now silence filled the command center as everyone stared at the massive object appearing on their view screens. "What is that?" Lieutenant Jin whispered. The Krell mothership emerged from faster-than-light travel like a nightmare taking physical form. It dwarfed every other vessel in the battlefield, stretching nearly 5 kilometers from end to end. Its black surface was broken only by weapon ports that glowed with ominous red energy. "Energy readings are off the charts," Engineer Cho reported, his voice tight. "That thing could wipe out the entire Aurelian fleet with a single volley." Captain Park's face remained calm, but his knuckles were white as he gripped the edge of the tactical display. "Status of our shields?" "Holding at 40%, Cho replied. "But against that thing, we wouldn't last 30 seconds. Ambassador Lee's skin had paled to a light gray. "That is the heart of the Krell Dominion. We cannot stand against it. Perhaps if you left now, your ship might escape." Around the bridge, human faces hardened at the suggestion. "We don't abandon allies," Commander Han said firmly. Park studied the tactical display, eyes moving between the mothership, the scattered Aurelian vessels, and the swirling nebula behind them. His gaze fixed on the nebula's core, a region of intense radiation and magnetic interference. "What about the nebula core?" he asked suddenly. "What would happen to ships that entered it?" Cho frowned. "Radiation would fry most systems. Magnetic fields would disrupt navigation. It would be suicide." "For most ships," Park said, his eyes lighting up. "But our shields were originally designed for deep space exploration, including radiation protection. Could we survive in there?" Cho's fingers flew across his console. "Theoretically, yes, for maybe 20 minutes before radiation begins to penetrate. But the Krell ships, would their shields protect them?" "I don't think so," Cho said slowly, understanding dawning. "Based on the data we stole, their shields are optimized for weapons fire, not radiation. They'd start taking system damage almost immediately." Park turned to face his crew. "Then we have our strategy. We'll lure the Krell mothership into the nebula core. Our shields will buy us time, theirs won't." Ambassador Lee stared at Park in disbelief. "You would deliberately fly into that death trap. The radiation levels there are lethal." "Only if we stay too long," Park replied. He pointed to the tactical display. "Look at the mothership's design. It's built for power, not maneuverability. Once we get it chasing us into the core, it won't be able to turn around quickly." Lee's skin rippled with patterns of distress. "This plan, it guarantees nothing except your own destruction." "Sometimes," Park said quietly, "you have to be willing to sacrifice everything to protect what matters." The bridge crew exchanged glances. Nobody spoke against the plan. "Ambassador," Park continued, "your remaining ships need to position themselves here outside the nebula core, but within weapons range of this exit point. If the mothership follows us in and starts taking damage, that's when you hit it with everything you have." The plan was set in motion within the hour. As the Thunder approached the nebula core, its engines straining at maximum power, the Krell mothership took the bait. It followed, just as Park had predicted, unable to resist crushing the troublesome human vessel that had disrupted their conquest. They're in pursuit, Han reported. All 8 escort vessels plus the mothership. Good, Park said grimly. Full speed into the core. Let's make sure they follow us all the way in. The Thunder plunged into the multicolored gases of the nebula core. Almost immediately, radiation alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Shield harmonics compensating, Cho called out, his hands moving frantically across his station. Radiation levels rising but still within tolerable limits. Behind them, the Krell fleet followed, their perfect formation never wavering. They're still coming, Jin reported. First signs of system disruption appearing in the lead vessels. The Thunder shuddered as it pushed deeper into the nebula. The view screen showed swirling clouds of superheated gas and dust, beautiful and deadly. Hull temperature rising, Cho warned. Outer plating beginning to degrade. A massive impact rocked the ship, sending crew members tumbling from their stations. Direct hit, Han shouted. Deck 7 breached. Seal it off, Park ordered. Keep. Going deeper. Another hit and then another. The Thunder's shields flickered dangerously. Shield failure in sections 3 through 7, Cho reported, his face streaked with sweat. We can't take much more of this. At her communication station, Officer Sun Yun looked up. Her eyes met Park's and some unspoken understanding passed between them. Captain, she said quietly, request permission to send a final transmission to Earth. The bridge fell silent. Park hesitated only briefly before nodding. Yoon turned to her station and began recording, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. This is Communications Officer Sun Yun of the UNS Thunder. We have engaged an alien force known as the Krell Dominion in defense of the Auralian people. We are currently executing what may be our final mission. Another blast rocked the ship. Sparks rained from overhead conduits. I want the people of Earth to know that we acted according to the highest ideals of humanity. We could not stand by while innocents were slaughtered. Whatever happens to us, know that humans are no longer alone in the universe, and that our first act among the stars was one of protection, not conquest. The Thunder lurched violently as another section of hull was breached. The Krell mothership is showing significant damage, Han reported through gritted teeth. Their systems are failing faster than ours. Just a little longer, Park urged, his face illuminated by the red emergency lights. We need to get them deep enough that they can't escape. On the tactical display, they could see the Krell escorts beginning to drift out of formation as their navigation systems failed. Shields at 12%, Cho reported. Critical failure. Imminent, Yoon continued her message, tears floating from her eyes in the failing gravity. If we don't return, tell our families we love them. Tell them we faced our end without fear. And tell the people of Earth to look up at the stars with pride, knowing that humanity's first step into the galactic community was to stand against tyranny. She took a deep breath, then finished with words that would one day be engraved on monuments across Earth. We die as we lived, with courage, with purpose, and with our humanity intact. Thunder out. As Yoon sent the transmission, Captain Park gripped the arms of his command chair and stared at the failing Krell mothership on his view screen. Even if they didn't survive, he knew their sacrifice would mean something. Prepare for emergency jump on my mark, he said quietly. Whether anyone heard him through the alarms and chaos, he couldn't tell. The Auralian ships waited at the edge of the nebula core, weapons ready. From their position, they could see the massive radiation storms raging inside, occasionally revealing glimpses of the pursuing Krell fleet. Of the Thunder, there was no sign. It's been too long, said Dr. Rin, who had taken command of the makeshift Auralian defense force. No ship could survive in there for this duration. Around him, the Auralian crews watched in silence. For a species that had abandoned violence millennia ago, they found themselves in the strange position of preparing for battle, all because one human ship had shown them it was possible to resist. The Krell mothership is emerging, someone called. Out. The enormous black vessel limped from the nebula cloud, its once smooth hull now scarred and burning in dozens of places. Electrical discharges crawled across its surface like lightning. The mighty ship was wounded, perhaps mortally. They sacrificed themselves to give us this chance, Dr. Rin said, his voice heavy with emotion. We cannot waste it. He turned to his crew. All ships target the mothership's weapon systems as the humans taught us. Across the Aurelian fleet, crews who weeks ago couldn't comprehend violence now moved with determination. The Thunder's lessons had taken root. As one, the silver vessels unleashed their newly installed weapons on the crippled Krell mothership. Energy beams sliced through the mothership's weakened shields, cutting deep into its vital systems. Secondary explosions bloomed across its hull as the Aurelians pressed their advantage. "We're doing it," an Aurelian officer whispered in disbelief. "We're actually winning." Then a voice crackled over their communication systems, distorted by interference, but unmistakably human. "This is Captain Yun Park of the UNS Thunder. We could use a little help if you don't mind." Cheers erupted across the Aurelian fleet as a battered shape emerged from a different section of the nebula. The Thunder, its hull blackened and torn, limping along on half its engines, but alive. Aboard the human warship, the situation was dire. Emergency force fields contained multiple hull breaches. Medical teams rushed through smoke-filled corridors treating the injured. On the bridge, most stations were operating on backup systems. "How?" Ambassador Lee asked in wonder, having remained aboard against all advice. "How did you survive?" Captain Park, his uniform torn and face streaked with blood from a cut above his eye, managed a tired smile. "We executed a micro-jump." Engineer Cho, working frantically to reroute power to essential systems, looked up. A blind FTL jump inside a radiation storm. The calculations had maybe a 20% chance of success. "Better odds than staying put, Commander," Han said, holding a bandage to his burned arm. Lieutenant Jin limped to her station. Krell mothership taking heavy damage from Aurelian attacks. Its command structure appears to be failing. Park straightened in his chair, wincing at the pain in his ribs. "Let's finish this. Target their main power core with everything we've got left. The Thunder's remaining weapons, a single functional plasma cannon, and 2 torpedo tubes, locked onto the mothership's exposed reactor section." "Fire," Park ordered. The combined assault, the Thunder's precise strike and the Aurelian fleet's coordinated barrage, proved too much for the wounded Colossus. The Krell mothership's power core destabilized, sending cascading failures throughout. The vessel, its weapons fell silent, its engines died. For the first time in recorded history, a Krell fleet commander sent a retreat signal. The surviving escort vessels broke formation, making desperate jumps to escape. "They're running," Communications Officer Yoon said in disbelief, her voice hoarse from the smoke she'd inhaled. "The Krell are actually running away." 3 days later, with the Thunder undergoing emergency repairs alongside the Aurelian fleet, Captain Park stood in the ship's conference room, now converted to a diplomatic hall. Before him stood representatives not just from the Aurelians, but from a dozen other species, races that had remained neutral or hidden during the Krell advance. A tall, crystal-like being stepped forward. "I am Envoy Lux of the Prismatic Concordance. We observed your battle from afar. For 30 cycles we have hidden from the Krell. Now we seek alliance with humans." A reptilian figure nodded. "The Sestran Confederacy also seeks friendship. Your tactics against the Krell mothership showed a cleverness we have not witnessed before." One by one the representatives came forward, some offering technology, others resources, all seeking the same thing: protection and alliance with the humans who had done what no one else dared. Later, alone on the observation deck, Park watched the stars. Ambassador Lee found him there. "Your ship will be repaired soon," Lee said. "The combined efforts of 7 species are seeing to that. Everyone wants to help the Thunder." Park nodded. And then the galaxy will never be the same," Lee replied. "Word has spread farther and faster than you can imagine. The humans who charged into certain death to protect strangers. The single warship that wounded the Krell mothership. Already they call it the Thunder's Defiance." Lee's skin rippled with patterns of wonder. 3 Krell conquest fleets have halted their advance, simply because of rumors that human ships might be in those sectors. Park turned from the stars to face the ambassador. "We weren't ready for this. Earth barely understands there's life beyond our system, and now we're being looked to as guardians of the galaxy." "That is precisely why it must be you," Lee said. "Any species with your capacity for both violence and compassion would have become conquerors long ago. Yet your first instinct upon meeting us was protection, not domination. Park thought of the crew members they'd lost, their names now inscribed on a memorial wall in the ship's garden. He thought of Earth, still unaware of what had happened out here among the stars. "We're going to need a bigger fleet," he said finally, a small smile forming. Lee's skin brightened. "The Aurelians have already begun adapting our construction facilities. The ships will be beautiful and terrible." As Park looked back at the stars, he realized humanity had crossed a threshold from which there was no return. The species that had spent its history divided by borders and ideologies was now the unexpected defender of a galactic alliance. "We came to observe," Park said quietly. "Instead, we found our purpose." Beyond the view panel, the first joint human-Aurelian patrol ship glided past, an elegant silver hull now bearing both weapons and a simple emblem, a silver lightning bolt against a field of stars. The Thunder's legacy had begun,